Stephen's case, if he was getting involved and he was going to help, he was going to do so. It was 100%.
He doesn't mind being called an old-timer. He's like all of us. It's time for the kids to take over.
In my personal opinion, really the key reason to have Stephen on the scene is he'll generally pick up the tab.
When I got involved in Newfoundland's offshore oil and gas industry, Stephen was involved at the time himself already, and I was taken in hand by Stephen Henley and shown the ropes. I remember very clearly my first trade show in Norway at ONS in Stavanger, and Stephen took me around, took time out of his own day at the show to make sure I understood how the shows worked, met many people, and particularly in the after hours, Stephen was all very willing to make sure that I got to the social events and was fully engaged.
I've probably known Stephen for 25, maybe 30 years. We met right at the start of Hibernia when everyone was getting excited about Hibernia moving forward, and he was starting his career with AMI and Harold Wareham and Lee Schinkel. Shortly after we met, we invested in AMI as Crosby Group, and Steve was certainly part of that package and part of the leadership team, and part of the reason why we invested is what value that he could bring to the company and developing the business.
When I met Stephen, I was dressed more or less like a Viking in drag. There was a theme party before the conference, before the Noia conference began. And my Norwegian boss misunderstood the theme of the party, and we all went dressed like Norwegians. Unfortunately, the theme of the party was the Old West. Stephen was tolerant. He introduced me to a lot of his friends without chuckling or smirking, and I really appreciated that.
Certainly, I think the biggest role he played was when the industry was a little bit down and it was iffy as to whether or not it was going to go forward.
In the 90s, when I was involved with the board of Noia and Stephen, the Hibernia project was underway, the industry was growing, but for Noia it wasn't an easy time. The sources of funding that had got the organization started were changing. The next project was certainly talked about but not happening.
A lot of what I would call the old timers like Steve and then a few other guys really dug in to make sure it stayed active.
Stephen's contributions to Noia, in my opinion, have been immense. He's always been in there, not from far away looking down on it, just giving it guidance, but he's always getting his hands dirty. He's always got a job in Noia. He's a hands-on guy.
Stephen over the years has mentored many people, and not just persons first coming into the industry, but I know for a fact that there are a number of people involved in the industry today, some of whom are in fairly senior roles, that still on a regular basis rely on Stephen's guidance and opinion.
We confer with each other as to what's happening around the industry and what the opportunities are, and if there's issues, what are the issues for the industry and what are the potential solutions. And Stephen's depth of knowledge is always valuable to me and giving me advice as to what we should be looking at.
I've seen Stephen back away to help people and help organizations when he had a clear interest that might have been served by getting more involved but complicating the matter. So Stephen has the ability to subdue his own self-interest for the self-interest of a larger group of people, and I think that's a terribly noble quality about him.
I think it speaks volumes to his passion and commitment to what he's done that we see today so many companies that he introduced to the Newfoundland industry.
I think Stephen's ability to sit back and look at what's happening, reflect on it, and reflect on how that's going to impact Newfoundland and impact the industry, his own business, and the people that he's working with is probably his biggest strength, the analytical side of how he processes things.
It's important to have Stephen on the scene because he actually is involved. He's not in the background. He knows what's going on, and he's a problem solver. And he gets to the root of the problem fairly quickly, real quickly as a matter of fact, and then provides a solution equally as fast. So it's having Stephen on the scene is like having a backup, a safeguard, and you know things are going to go well.
It certainly has taken a view that this is a big industry. It has a big future for Newfoundland. It's going to be a big part of our future. So I think his ability to look to the future and see what is it we're going to need 4, 5, 6 years out is very strong. And that sort of business development approach, whereas a lot of people are looking at, where's the revenue tomorrow? He's always looking at where are we going to be generating revenue 4, 5, 6 years from now.
His commitment to the annual conference, I think, has made a tremendous contribution.
Certainly has a lot of depth of knowledge how to run a strong conference. And he doesn't mind strong-arming the top speakers in order to make sure that the people are there that should be there and that they're saying and giving a perspective as to where the industry is going.
I can say, especially with regard to some of the panels I've helped him put together for Noia, and some of the things I've helped him plan, and be assured that my part was not much of it, Steve was all of it. I can guarantee you they wouldn't have turned out nearly as well if Stephen hadn't been involved. They would have happened, but it would have been a lot sloppier.
Stephen is very, very passionate about Newfoundland art. Indeed, you would be hard put in his home to find much wall space that doesn't have some unique, local piece of art that you'd love to have on your own wall.
First and foremost, Stephen's a family man. Second, and almost equally important, he's a Newfoundlander.
A number of companies coming to establish themselves in Newfoundland have from Stephen Henley, learned about Newfoundland.
And Stephen drove me around St. John's with an obvious sense of pride and pointed out where he grew up and where his friends grew up and what was important to him about the town. And I thought that spoke volumes about Stephen and his commitment to St. John's and his participation in it, a very active participation in the community.
Especially rural Newfoundland, which is where Stephen's roots go back to. His family has been here for generations.
He went out of his way to make sure that we looked around Newfoundland, Labrador to see where we could get the support, not just in the St. John's region. And that, I think it's important that Newfoundland, Labrador benefits from the industry, and I think Stephen saw that as being a way to make sure that the industry is properly supported and understood. His absolute love of his dogs, which I'm a dog lover and we've had dogs all our lives, and that was actually a bit of a surprise to me that Stephen has fallen so head over heels with his huskies and that, because I never pictured him as an animal person, but he's almost like a little kid with these dogs.
Many years ago, one of my children was quite ill with a very difficult heart issue that required surgery in Toronto. It wasn't available locally, and it had to be done as soon as possible. And indeed it was done, I'm very pleased to say, successfully. When that surgery was over and during the recuperation, he reached out through some connections that he had, and one led to another. And he was able to, which astounded me, get seats immediately behind the bench of my son's favorite basketball team. And as Nicholas will tell you today, if it hadn't been for Stephen, he wouldn't have had the sweat of his favorite basketball player on his hands. Imagine, behind the bench of the Pistons.
From someone who cherishes your friendship and has enjoyed your company over the years, congratulations. I can't think of anyone else who deserves this honor more than you do. I hope you enjoy your day, and have a glass of good red from me. Take care, my friend.
Stephen, well done. I think it's a terrific honor, well deserved. Couldn't go to a more worthy candidate. Congratulations.
Stephen, congratulations. It's well deserved, long overdue. You've been a great support of the industry, and Noia has been very fortunate for your passing through its organization. I said passing, I said, well, I didn't mean that. I meant passing through. I don't know if you can edit that up a bit.
We certainly can.